Hey guys, it's Caleb with White Metal Games. I haven't done a video in a while. I was out of town for a couple weekends, so I'm just trying to get caught up around the workshop. So I thought I'd catch you up on some stuff I've been working on. So here we go. Just make sure. Yeah, okay. The Dooms have been pretty popular recently, so I did a few more of these guys. I ran into a few more bits online I could use. This one will probably go up for sale on eBay because he's a one-of-a-kind kind of guy. So I can't duplicate him because his head is kind of rare. These ones, on the other hand, I've been picking up a couple of these heads. I'm going to mold a brain on the back here, and then I'll put a piece of armored chitin on the back there to create the brain. So these guys have been pretty popular. I've been selling them on eBay. I did a giant one just because I've always wanted to do a really big Doom. I liked the idea that when they suck up all their power, they sort of swell. So this guy was made with much larger bits. He does have a few Tyranid bits in there. The under part of that is a Trigon head. This brain you guys will recognize is from Krang, which was a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle villain. And then he's on a 60mm base with some slate on there to hide the pinning. So he worked out pretty well. I'll probably put him up for sale just for giggles. A long time ago, it's kind of a long story, but to make a long story short, I bought a giant Keeper of Slaanesh demon that I was going to use as a hive queen in my Tyranid army. So I was trying to do a Kerrigan thing at the time, so I sculpted all this body armor onto the body. And, just to make a long story, it's not even a short story anymore. Anyway, my sculpting talent has improved over the years. So although this looked okay back then, over time my standards have improved and I just wasn't into the work anymore. The problem is there's too much green stuff to get over, and I had actually added wings to the back of this thing. So the body was basically trash. Now I've moved on to a different version of my Hive Tyrant, so I didn't need this anymore, but I didn't want to scrap all of the bits. So I tried to figure out what I could use on this thing, and I sort of rebuilt her a little bit. I didn't want to waste her because I think she's a really cool model. So this is what I came up with. This is an old Tila from He-Man Masters of the Universe action figure. And basically I just cut off all the bits that I could use, which I wanted, which were the feet, the arms, these massive bladed arms, her hand with the sword, and then her head, of course. Her horns we had to redo. We had to repair the tentacles on the back of her neck, reinforce those, and this is a different tongue. Her tongue is usually much more simple. This is a bifurcated tongue. The outfit, I actually like this outfit quite a bit. It kind of reminds me of this sort of dominatrix kind of thing, and I think once painted it's going to look quite well. I added this lightning effect on here because Tila's hand is kind of in this palms down gesture. So I thought maybe give her some sort of like eldritch burst of like electricity, like a spell or a power she's using. She is based on a cavalry base, so it is the appropriate base for this model as determined by Forge World. There we go, that's a little bit better. So you see it's kind of bluish now, but there's the belt on there, and you can kind of see all these different things hanging off. These little tabs are from the original Keeper of Secrets model, and then these larger pieces here are from a what was the name of that show? Stargate action figure, his cloak vest sort of priestly garment thing I've sort of wrapped around. And we're going to sort of blend all that in with some gray stuff. We'll blend in the arms, blend in the head. So by the time this is all done and reprimed, I think it'll look pretty uniform. It's not going to be exactly the same, but as you can see here, comparatively, it's about the same height. It's maybe about an inch or so taller, but not bad at all. So I'll be using that. I'll try to either resell it or I may just give it to my brother as a gift because he plays a Slaanesh army. So I recently started playing Warhammer, and I've been wanting to sort of expand my my conversion basis. So these guys here are meant to be vampire queens or vampire countesses on Hellsteeds. Hellsteeds are basically a winged nightmare. So I took these old wood elf horses and added these bat wings to it I found in the Halloween section of my local grocery store. The heads are from demonettes, and the bodies are from well, the legs are wood elf legs, and the actual bodies are, if the camera will focus, are from Dark Elf Marauders, I think that's what they're called, that I had used for a kit bash a while ago. So anyway, I've got about 4 of those up for sale. They don't look too bad. They're appropriately based. I'm going to give them a couple hand weapons, so that way you could really use them for just about anything you wanted. And they've got these nice cloaks on the back, so I think these turned out pretty well, and those are up for sale on eBay. We just finished up our first batch of bone swords. We're going to be casting these in the next few weeks. So these are sort of a kit bash of all sorts of different stuff that we put together. So these will be going up. We've got 2 rights, 2 left hands, and my friend Nick has been helping me work on these, so he did a really good job on getting them together. He Here you can kind of see the finger detail, and you can see the claws there. And I think that's going to sculpt up real nice once we get that on there. So basically you'll buy a set of these for whatever set price, $10, who knows. And then you'll just cut off the arms from your hive tyrants or your carnifexes, and you'll just use the limbs that way. Let's see what else we got working on. We were recently sold all of our Turbogons, so this was a very popular rendition, so I had to build some more of these guys. Basically, it's an Arachnarok body with a Carnifex head, and I gray stuff it up to sort of close all the gaps up. The two arm sockets up front get filled with scything talons, and the legs are filled with these larger scything talons. So it sort of works in that way that it has a huge extended abdomen. I fill in all the pockets where spiders once were and just make them look like divots where termagants could burst out. And he stands pretty well. And basically you just glue him down to an oval base, which I have on order. Those will be here in a few days. Then I have a variant of that where I do it with a Tyranifex, and he has a massive cannon on his back. He's actually, I think, a couple bucks cheaper than the Turbogon, just because the Tyranifex isn't as popular. This one isn't harder to make, but that cannon is not cheap, but I had to sell it cheaper because clients aren't as interested in Tyranifexes as they are Turbogons. It's just the nature of the beast. So he'll be getting some legs, and all these guys will be up for sale in the next couple days. So there'll be about 5 Turbogons and a few Tyranifexes for sale. I recently have been working on my Frost Giant army a little bit. This is a Dreadnought I recently did. I really liked the Dreadnought from Forge World, but I didn't like the price, so I really wanted to try to build my own. So he's based on a Venerable Dreadnought kit, which I just added tons and tons of bits on, some slate work there. I like the Venerable Dreadnought kit a lot. It's very, very modular. Some of these bits you'll easily recognize as Space Wolf bits, shields, heralds, that sort of thing. That one on the left there on his right breast is from a Grey Knight, Dread Knight. This weapon on the side here is a what do you call that guy? The Librarian Dreadnought. I really liked his hand-to-hand weapon, and I had a spare one from a kit bash, so I used that sort of as a glaive or a spear or something like that. And then that just some extra bits over here on the side. The head is obviously a Space Wolf head. The banner, which was really hard to come by, it was a Minotaur banner, which I really liked. I think that adds a lot to the model. And you can see there's a small banner on the back there too to sort of hide up any generic bits. So he came out, I think, really nicely, and I'm going to do a bunch of different weapon options for him, but the one that I liked the best was this one. Even though I probably doubt that I'll ever actually field it, I just had fun building it. This is a Twin-Linked Heavy Flamer. Forge World sells one, but theirs is like, I don't know, $12. I wasn't willing to pay that for one bit. So I built this out of a Twin-Linked Flamer, which I think comes from the Defiler that I had in my bits box. And then I used some sort of arm from, I think, a Blood Angel's Dreadnought. I don't know what the original arm was, so I just covered it up with bits to sort of figure it in. It's a little big on this side. It actually doesn't sit entirely flush on the model, so you have to pull it out about maybe half a millimeter. But it works pretty well, and I'm going to give him lots of other different little options. Starting to run low on time on this video, so I'm just going to sort of blaze through the rest. We recently put together some of these, which are meant to be Aegis Defense Line cannons for Planet Strike for 40k. I'm selling these in a set with a couple of these barriers. So you can get 2 of the barriers plus that cannon for, I think, 10 or 12 bucks on eBay. So it's just kind of a nice way to sort of build up your Planet Strike forces if you want to do something non-traditional. And if you don't want to drop a fortune on the Aegis Defense Lines, that are not terribly cheap. We're starting on a custom sculpt. My sculptor, Nick, who's been helping me out a lot around the workshop, and I wanted him to sort of work on a Tarrasque miniature. I've always wanted a Colossal Tarrasque. I love the Colossal Red Dragon. I just think the scale of it is amazing. And I really wished that Wizards had done more Colossal figures, but sadly they just weren't in demand, which is why you don't see any more Gargantuan figures like Orcus over there. So we decided to give it a shot. So we're sculpting our first figure, and we're trying to do sort of a blend of the traditional direction that he was depicted in French folklore plus modern day equivalents. So we're trying to do him kind of a humanoid-ish figure, not unlike the Tarrasque in the book, but more of a Chinese dragon kind of lion face. And the other thing I'm playing around with is the idea of giving him 2 extra arm divots on his torso so that he can actually sort of be a 6-limb creature if the person wants him to. So here's the basic first sculpt of the torso. Now it's smaller, it's a lot smaller than the Red Dragon torso, but we wanted this guy to be a little slimmer. It won't have the big wings on the back, so we don't have to worry about that. And this is just a basic body form. We're going to actually sculpt scale